Hello there, I'm Charles Aite. We start with development story from the Bank of Ghana, as it has directed all financial institutions to only accept Ghana cards for all their transactions. The Bank of Ghana explains that this order takes effect from the 1st of July this year. If we could pull up some graphics to help you appreciate what exactly is stating that in furtherance of its objective of ensuring the safety of the financial system, the BOG, in pursuant to Regulation 7 of the National Identification Register, directs that with effect from the 1st of July, the Ghana card shall be the only identification card that will be will be used actually to undertake transactions at all Bank of Ghana licensed and regulated financial institutions, including that of banks, specialized deposit-taking institutions, non-deposit-taking financial institutions, payment service providers, and dedicated electronic money issuers, forex bureaus, and credit reference bureaus. It goes further to explain the fact that in line with this notice, Section 30 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act 2020, as well as regulations within anti-money laundering regulations, all financial institutions shall take steps to update customer records with the Ghana card. Now, customers of the Bank of Ghana regulated financial institutions are also therefore advised to update their records with their respective financial institutions with the Ghana card in line with the notice. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this particular development, especially when the Ghana card registration is currently ongoing across various registration centers in the country. Its impact when it comes to the safety of the financial institutions as well as the mainstreaming or centralization of Ghana's ID system. But we'll also stay with the finance minister once again because he's been explaining some contingency measures to be taken to regain confidence in the domestic and international market. It comes against specific projections from the Bloomberg as well as Fitch Ratings Agency of a B negative as well as a negative outlook for Ghana's fiscal environment. Take a listen to the finance minister as he addressed the media on this pressing matter.
We are also strengthening expenditure management in 2022 and beyond to ensure that we match all expenditures to revenue inflows. All expenditure commitments in 2020 will be adjusted to match revenue collection. Therefore, in accordance with Section 20 of the Public Financial Management Act, the quarterly expenditure ceilings of the approved budget will include up to a 20% downward adjustment beginning in the first quarter of 2022 in commitments across board for covered entities benefiting from the 2022 budget, subject to revenue performance. This means that our fiscal consolidation addenda is not going to be only revenue-led, but also expenditure-focused. In addition to the e-levy, we are committed to the implementation of other revenue measures, including the exemption bill, property taxes, internally generated funds, etc. I look forward to further engaging with you all in the coming days and sharing government's vision for creating a country where ingenuity is encouraged, where innovation is supported, where public service is valued, where responsibility and burden sharing is for all of us and prosperity will be shared. Accountability for the custodianship of public resources would also be prioritized.
Well, Professor Lob Mensah is an associate professor at the Finance Department of the University of Ghana. He joins us via Zoom. We're grateful that he could join us. It's clear that government is equally concerned about the trajectory of our fiscal outlook. Let's start with some aggressive reforms being introduced. A 20% downward adjustment in budget for MMDAs. You did hear from the finance minister. How sustainable is this as a measure to deepen, our stance when it comes to the outlook in the future?
Well, it cannot continue to be in the same direction, for the next few years. But I can tell you that in the interim, short to medium term, it's one of the measures that can be put in place. But let's also look at, some of these MMDAs that the finance minister is targeting. We cannot run 20% budget cuts across all the, various MDAs and MMDAs. If you look at the MDAs, some of them, their functions have direct impact on the economy. Others, their functions might not necessarily be of a direct impact. It may take time. Now, if you take, for instance, looking at the various categories on the expenditure side, if you go to the appendix of the budget, the central government expenditure, for me, needs to be looked at. If you are cutting, then a sensitive areas like education, health, roads, you might not necessarily look at that place, reducing their budget. Okay. However, ministries that don't have direct impact, ancillary ministries, you may go ahead to cut them. So to say that you are cutting across all the ministries, I have a question to that. But then the initiative is good. I have been dreaming of looking at our expenditure side of the budget, how we can contain some, expenditure from that point. And so the 20% cut, it makes sense. That should tell you that our expenditure is going to reduce in total by 20% margin. And so the 137 billion that was being targeted in the budget in November for this year will be reduced by 20%. So we're looking at around 107, which is almost close to, the revenue that we intend to generate, which is about 100 billion. And so it's a good call. And if we should recompute the budget deficit based on this percentage cut announced by the finance minister, I will say that, yes, we are on course. It's a bold step. It might not be politically wise, but economically it makes sense, and it's good for all of us. Indeed,
but government isn't backing down on the e-levy, even though many have argued that it is a retrogressive retrogressive in substance and only a 35% contribution to revenue. How instrumental will the e-levy be in balancing our revenue mobilization capacity?
Well, if you look at the e-levy, it is very, very sensitive in the sense that government knows the breakdown of its expenditure and then also the breakdown of its revenue. Now, if this e-levy does not come true, then politically motivated policies that are being rolled out by government might not come true. Government knows that the politics is in the e-levy. That is why they are insisting on it. Now, I always, categorize the budget, the expenditure side of the budget into two. There are some expenditures that government have control over. Others government have no control over. So things like interest payment and then, salaries and emolument, government has no control over them. But things like capital expenditure, government has, 100% control over as to where to put up infrastructure, where to, send a certain amenity to ensure that they flex their political muscle. And that is why they are fighting for the e-levy. If you look at, the capital expenditure from last year's budget, the e-levy targeting about 7 billion, Ghana cedis, takes almost about 80% of the capital expenditure. And, government is really indeed looking out for this money. And if this money does not come, that flexibility that government has in terms of manipulating expenditure as to where certain expenditures, so certain projects are supposed to go to show their political muscle will not be there. Indeed. And so, as for that fight, we should expect it. It's something that we should expect. We're waiting for it. That is why the minister is bent on making sure that we get this through.
Well, Fitch predicts a negative outlook for Ghana. How can this be reversed, especially when it's just a projection after all?
Yeah, I always say that it is a transition. We've been in after the B category, that is where almost all the African countries find themselves. But we need to understand that when you are graded B negative, we in the quantitative finance and quantitative economics area, we do something we call transitional probability. We've been in this situation, which has been announced based on the information that is out there. That is not a steady state for you. It's not a place that you have to remain forever. If you work hard and you put very good measures in place, very good revenue measures in place, ensure that you spend prudently, like as you're saying, we're going to cut, budget expenditure for MDAs by 20%. It's it's a way of prudently, managing your finances. And I think if you manage it going forward, by the next 6 months, next 1 year, we should be in a different state. And indeed, I think the next, assessment, we should be able to move out of this, negative outlook that we're looking at. So
great. Professor Lord Mensah, we're grateful that you could join us with your input on this. You're still watching The Marketplace. Moving on to a very peculiar industry, the fisheries industry, because light fishing continues to dwindle fish stock, making it difficult for fisher folk to take care of their families. James Ishan features one such fisherman who can barely keep up with his family together because the impact of light fishing has waned his profits and capacity to fend for his family. 2 of his wives have filed for divorce, not because they don't love him, but rather to ease him of his financial burden. We shall take a listen to this particular report, after which we shall be joined by the chairman of the Canoe Association to help us understand matters regarding light fishing in this current moment. Take a look at this report filed by James Ishan.
According to the Fisheries Committee for the West Central Gulf of Guinea, the fishing industry in Ghana employs over 2.2 million Ghanaians, which is about 10% of the Ghanaian population, and it contributes to the Ghanaian GDP, that is 4.5% of the Ghanaian GDP. We are currently at the Nungua landing beach. We just want to know how the fishing industry is actually faring, and also with the automated premix flow, we would also want to delve a bit into it.
Ghana has adequate valuable stocks of fish. Total domestic production, including aquaculture, is roughly 440,000 tons each year. However, the fishing industry in Ghana has reached a low-level equilibrium that provides little prospect for improving the welfare of fisher folk or contribution to the economy as a whole. Over the years, different measures have been put in place to keep the sector running, but its implementation has been faced with a number of issues. Bote claims to have had 3 wives in the past, but due to the current situation of the fishing sector, 2 of them divorced him. He's unhappy about the rate at which fishing communities in Ghana, including Nungua in Accra, have been plagued by plastic waste and its impact on the work.
1966, class 1. 1966.
I started fishing in 1966. I used to go with my father when I was in class 1. Back then, fishing was very lucrative until in 1979 when the light fishing method was introduced. It has crippled fishing business. The plastic bags is also not helping matters because it doesn't rot when it enters the sea, unlike the paper bags. This morning, I haven't even taken porridge. I have only 1 cedi in my pocket. Meanwhile, I have kids. Before, when fishing was good, I married 3 wives and gave birth to 15 children. Now they are done with school. I have 21 grandchildren. At my age, I shouldn't be fishing, but due to hardship, I am forced to. And even that, I earn nothing. 2 of my wives have left me due to the situation. How do I take care of my family? We are pleading with the government to intervene and stop the light fishing and the use of plastics.
Emmanuel Bote has been fishing for 20 years. He explains how light fishing is affecting business. With the pilot of the automated premix fuel distribution to reduce human element, Bote described it as a step in the right direction.
Well, at this moment, we would have to break in to pave way for a live press conference with members of CLOCSAC regarding conditions of service. Let's tune in to listen to their concerns.
Why do you want me to give you details? They didn't give details. Why do you want me to give you details?
What they could tell us is that you agreed to call off the strike.
Well, they didn't give you details.
Can you confirm that?
I can confirm, yes, we've had an agreement with government, and we're going to lay that agreement before the National Executive Council of CLOCSAC, and they will take that decision.
When can we expect that decision?
Well, we are arranging a meeting with the council, and whenever that decision is taken, you hear from us. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen from the press. We will get back to you when we are done with our next meeting. Thank you very much for that.
You yourself decide for yourself.
Well, we shall have more on the Clocksack press briefing on the polls at 3 p.m. Please stay tuned for that. But just before the break, we've been telling you the impact of light fishing on livelihoods of families at Jamestown. We're joined via Zoom by the chairman of the Canoe Owners Association, Nana Cheja, as well as executive director of the Fisheries Commission, Michael Arthur Datsi. We'll start with you, Nana. How is the association dealing with the consistent threat of light fishing? I'm afraid we'll try connecting to Nana, but in the meantime, take a listen once again.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It's important to note that Section 11 of LI 1968 prohibits light fishing.
Nana, you're loud and clear, please. I'm afraid we're having issues connecting to Nana, but just before the break, we've been playing you a report filed by James Ishen on the, the persistent threat of light fishing on livelihoods at Jamestown. Let's bring back that report, after which we connect with Nana on the issues at hand.
Thank you very much.
According to the Fisheries Committee for the West Central Gulf of Guinea, the fishing industry in Ghana employs over 2.2 million Ghanaians, which is about 10% of the Ghanaian population, and it contributes to the Ghanaian GDP, that is 4.5% of the Ghanaian GDP. We are currently at the Nungwa landing beach. We just want to know how the fishing industry is actually faring, and also with the automated premix flow, we would also want to delve a bit into it.
Ghana has adequate valuable stocks of fish. Total domestic production, including aquaculture, is roughly 440,000 tons each year. However, the fishing industry in Ghana has reached a low-level equilibrium that provides little prospect for improving the welfare of fisherfolk or contribution to the economy as a whole. Over the years, different measures have been put in place to keep the sector running, but its implementation has been faced with a number of issues. Bote claims to have had 3 wives in the past, but due to the current situation of the fishing sector, 2 of them divorced him. He's unhappy about the rate at which fishing communities in Ghana, including Nungwa in Accra, have been plagued by plastic waste and its impact on the work.
In 1966, 1966.
I started fishing in 1966. I used to go with my father when I was in class 1. Back then, fishing was very lucrative, until in 1979 when the light fishing method was introduced. It has crippled fishing business. The plastic bags is also not helping matters because it doesn't rot when it enters the sea, unlike the paper bags. This morning, I haven't even taken porridge. I have only 1 cedi in my pocket. Meanwhile, I have kids. Before, when fishing was good, I married 3 wives and gave birth to 15 children. Now they are done with school. I have 21 grandchildren. At my age, I shouldn't be fishing, but due to hardship, I am forced to. And even that, I earn nothing. 2 of my wives have left me due to the situation. How do I take care of my family? We are pleading with the government to intervene and stop the light fishing and the use of plastics.
Emmanuel Bote has been fishing for 20 years. He explains how light fishing is affecting business. With the pilot of the automated premix fuel distribution to reduce human element, Bote described it as a step in the right direction.
Previously, fishing was profitable, but in our era, the emergence of light fishing and the use of plastics is crippling the business. Fishing equipment have also become very expensive. When we go on shore, we come home with polybags instead of fishes.
And that's a report there by James Eshen. Let's now connect via phone this time around with the chairman of the Canoe Owners Association, Cheja. Of course, we're grateful that you could join us. How much of a challenge is light fishing at the present moment? Because we do know that the Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture has pushed in so much effort in dealing with this menace, as well as your association.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is important you have acknowledged the fact that the Ministry and the Commission has put in some effort. That tells you that enforcement alone cannot help address this issue. It is for this reason why we as an association would like to work on voluntary compliance, get the fishers to appreciate the fact that the effort by the Ministry and the Commission is towards protecting the fishery funds. But then it must be noted that the decline in catch as artisanal fishers are experiencing now is as a result of the activities of the industrial trawlers, because they have been allowed to harvest small pelagic and juvenile fish in voluminous quantity. And it isn't just about stopping them from doing illegal transshipment. Such catch, small pelagic and juvenile fish, are being landed at the port. And as they continue to harvest small pelagic fish, which is a sole preserve of artisanal fishers, they shouldn't expect artisanal fishers to make a catch. Notwithstanding, we as an association say that once live fishing is prohibited by Regulation 11 of LA 1960, it is important for us to take steps to help the Ministry and the Commission to address it. For this reason, in the course of these 3 days, we have met canoe owners in the Western region, in the Central region, and we are currently meeting canoe owners in the Greater Accra region, all for the purpose of bringing it to their attention, giving them the platform to reflect that over the years you have fished with the light and you are not making a catch. And you are even pursued for an illegality which is not giving you any benefit, which you are being pursued. So why don't we put a stop to it, re-engage the Ministry and the Commission, and see the way forward? And that has been the message in the course of the 3 days that we have engaged the canoe.
We do know that one of the main challenges that Ghana's fisheries industry continues to face is the slow rate in the fish stock. Of course, it's getting depleted by each and every year that we raise the matter. You rightly stated industrial trawlers, one of the key challenges, the threats to light fishing, to the fish stock in the country. What engagement are being made through your outfit and that of the ministry to deal with the matter of the industrial trawlers once and for all?
That since the executive director himself is on the show, he will be able to speak to the issues better. But we as artisanal fishers and an association of artisanal fishers think that the artisanal fishery collapses. Our members stand to lose faith and we tend to suffer. For this reason, we are engaging them to sensitize them on the illegalities that we also do, which also contribute to the problem that we have at hand. So we are doing more or less self-introspection to ensure that we peg ourselves of these illegalities, while demanding from the Commission and the Ministry to address the illegal activities of the industrial trawlers, which are having devastating effects on our artisanal fishery. You should also know that they harvest juvenile fish in quantities that cannot be imagined. Even the bottom trawling itself is having serious damages on the marine environment, environmental degradation. Right. And when you even check the fisheries policy, it has been stated there that our fishery is suffering from marine environmental degradation.
Okay.
And it is as a result of activities of bottom trawling.
All right.
So whilst we are engaging artisanal fishers, more importantly the canoe owners to ensure that fishers fish responsibly.
Okay.
We also played with the Ministry and the Commission to step up the game and ensure that activities of industrial trawlers, which are driving the collapse of the fisheries, is brought to a halt.
All right. We're grateful that you could join us with this update on steps taken to deal with light fishing. That's how we end this edition of The Marketplace as well. I'm Charles Aite. From me and the rest of the production team, many thanks for watching.